all the gardens that we tend. Breathing out, I smile to the earth in me. I smile at the fact that I am one with Mother Earth. Breathing in, I see the element of light in me. I am made of light. I am made of the sun. I see our stars as an infinite source of life, nourishing me in every moment. Breathing out, I smile to the sun in me. I am the sun. Breathing in, I see all my ancestors in me, my mineral ancestors, my plant ancestors, my human ancestors, my living being ancestors. They are always present, alive in every cell of my body, and I play a part in their immortality. Breathing in, I see the stars and the galaxies in me. I am cosmic consciousness. I am made of stars and galaxies. Breathing out, I smile to the stars in me. I play my part in the immortality of clouds, rain, stars, and the cosmos. Amen, and blessed be. At the end of April, where we are now, many of us start to do work in our gardens, taking stock of the way they survived the winter and how some plants have fared better than others. We might observe wearily that crabgrass and dandelions seem to be doing just fine as usual. But what is always exciting is to see that some vegetables survived and are coming up again, like kale, and sometimes even tomatoes, perhaps from the seeds of those that had dropped to the ground and that we neglected to harvest last fall. And as we start the weeding and the planting process, we might see some areas of soil that we have tended for a long period of time, where we have deposited cuttings and cardboard and pottery shards and other things. And the result is a dark, rich soil that makes us think, did I have something to do with that? Yes, we might have engaged in a bit of permaculture. Permaculture is described in many nuanced ways, but typically includes elements of time measured in years rather than seasons, and elements of sustainability, such as a wise choice of fertilizer and the companioning of plants that go well together for some reason, with results that are expected to produce a stable ecosystem over time. Soil, the earth, is an important part of permaculture. When I worked in my garden on Friday and I helped with the gardening part of the Beacon Workday on Saturday, I noticed the parts of the soil that were well aerated and that were very dark, like the soil that one finds in the woods. As a child, I used to go into the woods nearby our house with my parents to find such soil in order to improve the rather sandy soil that was surrounding our home. It was a slow process as we were on foot and the soil was carried in small bags or in other small containers like flower pots. It took a while. But there are places around the world, like in Brazil, where this kind of dark soil has been made by humans or with the help of humans. In Brazil, this kind of dark soil is called terra preta. which is Portuguese for black soil. It's a very fertile soil that is actually what we call an anthrol soil, unlike that stuff that my family and I collected in the woods. The name anthrol soil indicates that it has been made, at least in part, by humans who added charcoal, bits of bones, crushed bits of broken pottery, compost, and manure to the low fertility Amazonian soil. So the improved soil contains bits of human lives, things that we are letting go of during our human activity over long periods of time. The soil also contains remains of our long ago ancestors. In a broader, more spiritual sense, eventually every living thing becomes part of such rich soil. Charcoal is a substance that is very stable, and it remains in the soil for thousands of years, binding and retaining minerals and nutrients, and that's why it is used in so many methods of cultivation, not just in Brazil, but around the world. But what is our spiritual soil? Let's hold off on this question for a moment and consider a second aspect of permaculture in addition to time, and that is the companioning of different plants in such a way that all that are involved benefit. A well-known example of this companion planting is that of the Tree Sisters. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement of edible plants that was started in North America about 3,000 years ago. And I know the Iroquois, for example, practiced it. It involves 3 plants, corn, beans, and squash. And together, those plants make up a healthy diet for humans. But there is more. They flourish better together than alone. And they make up a self-sustaining ecosystem that nourishes the soil and produces abundant yields. Each plant helps the other. Corn provides a trellis for beans to grow on. Beans are a natural fertilizer. And squash has big leaves that block excessive heat and suppress weed growth. You may have noticed that if you grow squash, and it's a very nice plant to have around. Its big yellow flowers also attract pollinators for all the plants, not just for the squash. So this threesome is just really a nice combination of plants. And there are more examples like that. In the year 2013, Robin Wall Kimmerer published a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a Potawatomi Native American who is also a scientist and lives in different worlds, the world of Native Americans and the world of science, as many people would call it. And in one of the chapters of her book, she explores the companioning of plants from an indigenous worldview. And she tells the story of when she entered college. And typically when you enter college, you meet with an advisor and they ask you, so what do you want to major in? Yeah, and when she was asked that by her advisor, she said she wanted to study botany. Good, said the advisor. And why is that? And she replied that she wanted to know why asters, which have purple flowers, and yellow goldenrod look so good together. And you often find them together. Said the advisor, probably. And immediately said, well, that's not science. If you want to study things that are beautiful and beauty, maybe you should major in art or something like that. Science has nothing to do with beauty, said the advisor. But you know, thinking about this rather well-known story of Robin Wall Kimmerer, I was asking myself, and I'm asking you too, isn't it kind of intriguing that royal courts and royal attire often have purple and gold side by side? Is that a coincidence or what? These two colors, purple and gold, are actually called reciprocal pairs of colors. Reciprocal also means opposite. And they're also called complementary colors. Complementary colors, when you place them side by side next to each other, create the strongest contrast for those two colors that are possible. I used to love making drawings in school when I was a little kid that had purple and gold, and maybe there was something, a lot of us like those colors together because of that contrast, apparently. Great colors, complementary colors. And interestingly, when you mix those colors together, a lot of colors, when you mix them together, like yellow and blue, they make green. But yellow and purple doesn't make a color. It makes sort of a grayish sort of base. Nothing to write home about. So the mixing isn't what we're after. But asters and goldenrod, why are they so often found together in nature? Well, their colors create a contrast, and that contrast strongly attracts pollinators. And those pollinators are helping both plants to help them survive in the long run and make an ecosystem together with other plants. So Robin Wall Kimmerer was a scientist and also had that indigenous knowledge of why things go together. Now, what would be a sustainable permaculture for human spirituality? Whatever we do should also be done over a long period of time. I used to go to meditation sessions. Some lasted a week, and some people came there. They had been working in the business work, and they thought after a week, something has happened. So they would ask the leader or the master and say, "Okay, now what? I think I've done it." And it's no, keep doing it. How long? They might say, well, you might try for 10 years and then maybe ask me again. And many people went away disappointed because we like quick results in our culture. But what sorts of things can we do over a long period of time? Well, it could be meditation, or it could be a routine or many routines of starting our day. For example, by drinking a glass of lemon water. I recently talked to someone who said, I have done this every day for 20 years, and I feel so much better for it. Or we could speak some words of reflection or prayer at something that we consider our home altar, like a little nook where we have special little things, the pebbles we picked up on a beach, or the pictures of our loved ones, or a twig that has already sprouted with pussy willows, that sort of thing. It might change over time, but it's our special place. We might reflect about that in the beginning of the day. Or we might start off our day with a cup of tea. In my case, coffee. Tea, maybe, while we write what is called a morning page in a journal. There is a well-known author, Julia Cameron, who advocates the writing of morning pages. And I once was in a class where I had to do this, and I was thinking, this is graduate school. I was in seminary, and we have to write morning pages. Come on, can you give us a real assignment? But reluctantly, I did it. And I did it for weeks. And strangely, something happened to me, even after a few weeks. Another thing that seems maybe less strange is to go on a short walk in a garden, in a park, or around the block, and observe the crisp air or the sound of the birds, or watch the people we encounter and say hello. The activities we select may include spiritual companioning. And by this, I mean that we might combine things that go well together, like tea and writing, like a ritual routine at our home altar, like lighting a candle, and also reminiscing about our loved ones. As with plants, one routine helps to make the other more meaningful. Overall, when we start doing any of these things or a combination of them, we may have a feeling that is positive. But it's really something that takes time. When should we do this? The best advice is start in the morning. Start your day that way. Start by enjoying your breathing. How wonderful is it that we can breathe? Start by making our beds, and so on. These small routines become part of our lives, and as they do, they accumulate. And they make up our spiritual terra, Kreta, or our dark, fertile spiritual soil. And in that, other things can grow. In our culture, we measure a lot of outcomes in terms of how happy we are. You might think that we're happiest in the morning. Why in the morning? Well, when we get up, it's a new day, a fresh start. We can clean our body, we can breathe deeply, we're still here. But interestingly, surveys show that we are the most unhappy in the morning. Yeah, why would that be? We have to get to work. We forgot to do our homework, things like that enter our minds. And we're the happiest around 5 p.m. End of the workday, I suppose. But wouldn't it be great if we started off happy? Then we are more likely to engage in that compassionate act, or a lot of them, during the day. We're more likely to be kind to others, to ourselves. We're more likely to live into our Unitarian Universalist principles and value. How can we tell whether there is a positive result of these little spiritual permaculture activities? Well, we keep doing them and we enjoy doing them. That's one thing. We might say, my morning tea. I can't wait to spend some moments rearranging my little altar, putting a new photograph on it, the flower that we picked yesterday, the special pebble that we found on our morning walk. You might say, it's time to write those morning pages. And as we do that, we might find that what we have been writing, even though we thought it was just spontaneous writing, it actually becomes a narrative that contains some details about ourselves in relation to other things that we wouldn't have thought about otherwise. And this improvement in our life, in our drive for life, also makes us more resilient to setbacks in our own lives and in our appreciation for setbacks in the lives of others. So we can be more attuned to understanding and helping with the suffering of others. It may make us appreciate one another more and become more tolerant. It may even make us more productive, depending on how we understand that word productive and productivity. Presumably to a Unitarian Universalist, it wouldn't be just that capitalist interpretation of productivity. How many widgets have you produced today? I expected 2,000 from you. You only produced 1,800. What's wrong with you? No, it's not like that. It's a different kind of productivity. It's a spiritual productivity. After a good amount of time has gone by and we participate in another one of those surveys about happiness, we might even reply that we are happiest in the morning and happier overall during the day. We might also find that we're not just working, organizing, and doing, but we are truly living our Unitarian Universalist principles and values more intently, in a more spiritual way. We are becoming people of faith in our daily lives, and may it indeed be so.